One of many victims of Europe's escalating migrant crisis as refugees attempt to flee the conflict in Syria, so desperate to escape that they are risking their lives crossing the Mediterranean in rubber dinghies. So what more can Canada do? How many Syrian refugees has Canada actually resettled, and what needs to be done to speed up the process? Joining me now from Toronto is Mohamed El Rashidy, Director of the Canadian Arab Federation, and in Montreal, Faisal Alazem, and he is spokesman for the Syrian Canadian Council. Good to see you both. Appreciate you being here. Faisal, I'm going to start with you. How many Syrian families have you succeeded, your group succeeded in bringing over to Canada? What kind of obstacles are you facing at this moment?
Well, for private sponsorship, not a lot, and that was the route that the aunt of the little boy was exploiting. Unfortunately, Syrian Canadians don't have a lot of options to either protect their families, so there is no family reunification program that has been established for Syrians, although there had been such programs after the typhoon in the Philippines, the earthquake in Haiti, and other humanitarian disasters in the world. So all they were left with really is private sponsorship, and the delays are just horrendous. So to put things in perspective, if you wanted to sponsor a refugee in Egypt or in Turkey, it would take you at least 40 months, in some cases 50 months. And so people are getting very desperate and not going through with this program. And this is why you've seen so little, and the number is so little of Syrian refugees that are in Canada, simply because there are so many obstacles to bring them here. And we've noticed as well a political decision to throw the majority of the resettlement of Syrian refugees to Canada to the private sector, and much less responsibility to the government and through government resettlement.
Okay, Mohamed El Rashidy, what do you make of where we're at in this crisis? I mean, it does seem like certainly the world is focusing on it in a way as never before. What do you think Canada could be doing to sort of to help people in a concrete way and in an immediate way, I guess?
Yes, Rosemary, Faisal put his finger on it when he said private sponsorship. Unfortunately, and underline unfortunately, this government has shoved everything over to the private sector, even when it comes to humanitarian aid and helping people in dire need like refugees. And that's where the problem lies, is that you can have all the economic views you want about small government and not wanting to help people directly and leave it to the citizens. But at the end of the day, governments have to take action during desperate times. And that's what we have right now in this crisis. We've had it for years. But make no mistake about it, the Harper government has opposed opening the door to these refugees, which is really disappointing because the Harper government
why do you say that, Mr. El Rashidy? I mean, they've made a 10,000 commitment. They've made another 10,000 commitment. Admittedly, they haven't managed to bring in many people. But why do you say they're closing the door?
Well, I've heard you had a great interview with Minister Alexander earlier today, and he kept repeating how this crisis started years ago. So when you're saying they're going to bring in 10,000 and they're bringing that number up today, that's because it's bad publicity that we had a baby die in the water. And it kills me as a father as well to see these images. But the reality, this has been going on for years, and they've done nothing. In fact, Rosemary, it's important to note, this government wanted to exclude Muslims from coming here. They wanted to exclude.
Why do you say that? Why do you say that? Why do you say that, Mr. El Rashidy? I can't just let you say that without you giving me some facts.
Well, Amnesty International and the United Nations have complained that Canada is picking and choosing the type of refugees they would let in. In fact, Canada back in 2004, according to many reports, and Faisal, I'm sure, can fill in on this, have said we would take more if you can make sure that they're not from the Sunni Muslim majority. And this is in line with the policies that we have seen from Stephen Harper's government.
Faisal Alazem, do you agree with that there is a desire to target ethnic minorities? I mean, certainly we've seen some of that in Iraq. Do you think that's what's playing out here and that's the holdup?
Well, it's not a secret. I think that a lot of members of parliament and the representative of Minister Alexander specifically said that the 10,000 will target minority groups, which of course we don't oppose. They need protection.
Yes.
But the point is we need to resettle people based on vulnerability and based on the need of protection, not because we favor one ethnic group or one sect, because in the back of our minds we feel that they might integrate or we feel more assimilated by, or they might ideologically be closer to us.
Right.
So yes, there is definitely a concern, and this has been a major source of frustrations for a lot of Syrians. A lot of Syrians actually left Syria to come to Canada to get out of this whole sectarian game, but here it is, déjà vu, unfortunately, one more time here.
If the government introduced some sort of family reunification for Syrians, I'll start with you, Faisal, and I just quickly for both of you, would that make a difference?
It would make a huge difference because private sponsorship with the long delays, and as well, just quickly, for example, if you are in Toronto or in Vancouver and you want to create a group of 5, such as the aunt of the little boy did, you would require UNHCR recognition, which, by the way, only 10% of the 4 million externally displaced Syrians have received this recognition. So the probability is very low to be recognized and be able to sponsor using the G5 program.
Mohamed El Rashidy, just on that point, do you think family reunification could be a way to sort of speed this up in some concrete way?
Absolutely. Rosemary, there are so many ways to speed this up, but there are actually obstacles put in the way by the government rather than creating solutions, and that's where the problem is. So today you're going to have some masquerading by the politicians in front of the cameras, but we're going to go back to the same thing once the story goes off the headlines, and I hope that it does not. We got to look at Canadian history with this. There is a memorial in Halifax called the Wheel of Conscience. It's related to the St. Louis, if you recall, Jewish refugees escaping the worst crime in human history, the Holocaust, in which Canada turned back. And I listened carefully to Jason Kenney in 2011, January 20th, when he gave a speech, and he talks about how that was a grave mistake for Canada. And I have to quote him on this. He says, "Let us be clear, Canada will never close its doors to legitimate refugees who need our protection and who are fleeing persecution." And he talks about, had Canada taken a stand, had it been true to its best and highest values, the individuals obviously would have been alive. And I bring that up because here we are today, history repeating itself, and Canada once again closing its door to a vulnerable group of people.
Okay, again, I'm not sure you have the evidence to back that up, Mr. El Rashidy, because the government has committed to 20,000 people from Syria. They just don't have them here yet. But I've run out of time. So I will have you both back because I agree. I think this is a story that's not going away. Thank you both for your time. Mohamed El Rashidy, Faisal Alazem, thanks.